a 5-year plan. They have a 10-year plan. There's, they're talking about how many homes will get potable water, how many miles of roads will be built, a decrease in infant mortality. They're actually quantifiable goals in plans. Here in the United States, all we have is puffery that allows politicians to claim whatever goal has been achieved that they want.
Well, let me say, I also think that you will find that in the European systems, the control system is much different. In other words, the way the process works. We have a system in the United States. It's interesting that sometimes if you're in planning been in long enough, you've been called communist a few times. That's because you're restricting people's rights. We have probably the only system in the world that actually values property rights in the way that we do. Because I assure you, if you're in a dictatorship, you don't have, we don't go through a development review process. Now, my point of only is, I spent a little time in Germany when I was in the Army and happened to interact with the German government in terms of how things were built. Their means of control, their means of permitting were vastly different than what we do here. And they could, in fact, measure that because they had control. So part of that has to do, I think, with the nature of our system here in the United States and the importance we place on property rights. And what I was saying is this is a public process that is disjointed and incremental in its nature.
You make a very good point, because the German model of planning is actually the U.S. model. Because, as you know, when Herbert Hoover was Secretary of the Interior, this whole Standard Zoning Enabling Act, the Standard Planning Act, come from Germany. And the reality of it is we wanted a political process that had discretion because we didn't trust the planning process to make those decisions. In Germany, in the way that the Japanese took the German model, the Japanese exported it to all of the countries that they had occupied during the mid part of the last century. They actually believed in planning and let planners make plans, and then they held the politicians as just the implementer of the planner's recommendation. Here we have a political process that actually fostered the kind of claim that you had in Amendment 4, because they believe that the system really is corrupt because of the discretion and the campaign finance and the donations. And in other countries, the planners actually plan and implement, and they have targets. And that's, I think, what this gentleman is saying. We don't have a plan that says in 5 years we're going to have industrial parks, or we're going to have port development, or we're going to have 23,000 miles of roads, or infant mortality down 10%. We just have goals, objectives, and policies that really you can't quantify in any way. In our EAR process, which really isn't an evaluation, it's more like Catholic confession, where you basically say, oh, Father, this is what we wanted to do, we sinned. What is it that we need to do? Yeah, we'll do better. Give us 5 more years and we'll come back and do better.
I couldn't agree more. One more question.
Sorry that I'm monopolizing the question. That I'm just taking advantage of this opportunity. Yeah, okay. I just want to connect with the same question. I think that measuring performance is not only quantitative. If other disciplines could do it, I think in urban planning we could do that as well. We could look into it. You see, if we measure, for example, the number of schools, the number of malls, it's only a part of the measurement of success, because we talk of impact and outcome. When we talk of impact and outcome, it may be not only the physical component of our plan, because urban planning is not only physical, there are some other aspects of it. And those could be measured actually using indicators and some kind of system that we still do not implement in our field.
This is probably a topic that we could easily talk about for a long time in terms of how would you actually measure plans and so forth. And I don't doubt that we could do it. The question is, we typically do not. I think there are a lot of reasons why it's not. Supposedly in Chapter 163, it says you're supposed to have measurable goals, objectives, and policies. But as I see plans being crafted and put together, I rarely see truly measurable goals coming out. And it's usually because you put it before the city commission, they say, oh, take that out. We can't, I'm being a little, but it's a difficult process, and I don't doubt it could be, but again, we're not in that case where the planners get to make the decisions and unfettered by the politicians and so forth. Okay.
Jeannie, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
About a 10-minute break here, 12 minutes maybe, then we're going to start with number 4 after that segment. There's food in the back, plenty to drink. If you're a journalist and you haven't registered or checked in, start please do that at my CD.